people can get behind, which means that which means that they have a problem with messaging. So even if you were correct, how you made that palatable to the public was very off.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode. Please like the video and subscribe. Our target is only 1,000 likes. So the twists and turns in Donald Trump's tariff war with the rest of the world has sent financial markets spinning. Stock markets have rebounded in the US and across Europe and Asia after the White House posed some of the most punitive import charges on Wednesday, except those on China. The US Treasury Secretary said the pullback had been the plan all along, to bring countries to the bargaining table. Trump, though, later indicated the near panic in markets that had unfolded since his Liberation Day had factored into his thinking. Despite insisting for days that his policies would never change, he said, "You have to be flexible."
Mel, tell everybody about the topic that you wanted us to start with in Block A, the first one, before music, before Drake, before anything.
Okay, we were commenting on the fact that it was kind of a slow news, day, week, or whatever the case was, but I was like, there was national protests in every state in the country.
And that's when my ignorant ass said, I didn't see nothing but sunshine and coffee. I didn't see, it was beautiful outside. I didn't see a protest nowhere.
Honestly,
Mel was like, yo, nobody's talking about all the national protests that happened.
It feels like the media is suppressing it.
Even on the news, I didn't see nothing about a protest.
It feels like the media is intentionally suppressing the fact that there was protests in every single state.
What are they protesting about?
They're protesting Trump and Elon Musk. They're protesting tariffs. They're protesting the fact that people's savings and retirement and 401ks are dwindling. That's what they're protesting. They're protesting just like a fucking hijack of the fucking U.S. government.
You know what I would like to know? I don't know. There's no way to really find out
who all these people voted for.
Yep. How many of you protesters voted for? I would love to just be able to see that.
Stop, because that's why Kamala's under fire now.
She said, "I told you so."
Doing the whole "I told you so," and I do think it's a horrible time to say "I told you so."
It's not even "I told you so." What I'm saying is just.
But that is how it comes.
But how is it horrible that she said that?
Why is it horrible for her to say?
Yeah, she said it.
She told you ahead of time. This is what's going to happen. She said it.
I think it's horrible.
Yeah,
I think
it is horrible.
I don't.
I hate when Hillary did it. I hate when Kamala does it.
I don't.
Let somebody else say it. I mean, I'm not saying they're wrong. Let somebody else say it.
Okay. Yo, dog.
Sometimes you got to let somebody do the dirty work for you, especially when it's fucking obvious.
See, I disagree with that because
I don't agree.
The Democratic Party has lost all their fucking balls and sack for the past
cowardly
10-15 years. So someone should be. Someone needs to speak up and say some shit.
Okay, but the Democratic Party also has been having trouble with a farm system and a candidate that the people can get behind, which means that which means that they have a problem with messaging. So even if you were correct, how you made that palatable to the public was very off. It was very off. So now you want to sit and say, I told you so. Yeah, but you didn't deliver it in a way that helped you at the polls, one. And two, now when everybody is suffering, ain't the time to do that.
I'm going to say this.
It ain't the time to do that when people are suffering. People is fucked up out here.
Y'all know I said she ran a shitty campaign. Mm-hmm. I did. She ran a shitty campaign. But I watched some of those debates and she outlined what's about to take place. She said it. Yo, you get in bed with a nigga that don't respect you and he gonna fucking eat you for lunch. She said that to him face to face.
I'm not arguing whether she's right.
So now I think, to Parks' point, the Democrats always doing what's quote unquote politically correct. And the things that we should and should not do. Now it's the time to go away from what the fuck we've been doing and start playing this dirty pool game that the Republicans have been playing.
Here's why I don't like that. Here's why I don't like it. The only thing I don't like about it is if the Democrats had said the right shit and people made the wrong choice, I would be like, fine, give me "I told you so." But Democrats spent, you said yourself, they ran a shitty campaign. I think they spent way too much time not talking about economic issues, way too much time focusing on these little cultural issues.
Stupid shit.
Yeah. And so now to be like, we told you so, if I was a voter, I'd be like, you didn't tell me shit, at least not enough.
She did. She might not have said it enough.
That's my point.
Cool.
That's why I'm like, don't get on the high horse now, like y'all were so high and mighty riding this out.
Yeah, I don't see it.
You get what I'm saying? Just because I don't think the Democrats' messaging was strong enough for them to justify saying, we told you so.
I think that you can't.
I agree with that.
No, I agree with you as well. But I think that when Donald Trump's message was, I'ma fix shit, the Democratic's message might have been, yo, this is what we're gonna do, blah, blah, blah. Don't nobody want to hear that. So it's not like she didn't say it. And again,
she outlined a plan and he just said, I'm gonna fix shit, like broad stroke.
Yes, true. And so now I did outline what we were gonna possibly do. He just said, "Yo, eggs high. I'm gonna fix eggs and gas," and y'all motherfuckers ran with that.
I think going back to the initial point is Republicans, especially Trump and his administration and his people, have successfully been saying whatever the fuck to get people to get up
and punching you in your face. And the Democrats are going to say, "Nah, yo, you know, you gotta turn the other cheek. Yeah, you gotta turn the other cheek. It ain't fair when you smack a motherfucker." Donald Trump run around like,
but here's the other.
You can't keep playing this politically correct, cool game.
I agree, but here's the other thing. Tactically, I don't know if it works because when people are catching hell, nobody wants to hear. I told you so.
Yeah, I think what y'all arguing is totally separate from "I told you so." We getting away from the point.
No, I disagree. I think what's going to happen is "I told you so, I told you so, I told you so" is going to now start winning in the congressional primaries. I told y'all motherfuckers what's going on. Aha. And now niggas gonna be like,
that's more like bitter rubbing in your face.
No,
that's what I'm saying.
I don't even take it as an aha. But what's gonna happen is that we trying to win the Congress back. Oh, not we, because I'm not necessarily.
But you know what people do? I think solution based. Like you supposed
that's
to come up.
Yeah,
no,
that's
it
true.
should be solution based.
So what right now?
At a time like this, it got to be solution based.
It helps you win the primaries back in Congress.
I told you
this was going to happen. So now when we come back to the polls, do the right thing.
Nobody want to be talked to like that or feel like they're being talked down to at a time when
Donald Trump calling niggas fat and all this other shit, and the world resonated with his message. So now y'all got to
goes back to me talking about the Democrats don't even know, that party don't even know how to speak to the voters. They don't know how to speak to the voters.
They're doing a terrible job. I can't speak to the tariff issues. I haven't studied this enough but I have spoken to a lot of voters on like the Middle East, just as another example. And as the bombings are continuing overseas, people are doing the same thing. We told y'all Trump was going to be worse than Kamala Harris. We told you. And as people's shit is being set on fire, people's children are being killed, nobody is feeling good about hearing that "I told you so." And voters are saying it's not going to make them more likely to vote. Now, tariffs are a different issue. I don't want to speak on something I don't know enough about. But what I will say is, historically, voters generally don't respond well to "I told you so." They tend to respond to "This shit is broke. Why don't you try this thing next time?" You know what I mean? And that's what I would want to hear more from. Like, if Kamala's going to be the head of the party, because Hillary Clinton did this.
And she's not. But that's the other thing.
I'm disagreeing with Mark.
She's not.
I'm disagreeing with Mark. Because what Donald Trump did was, "I told y'all so. Look at what Joe Biden been doing. I'm going to do something totally different."
Yeah.
If today, when you hear him talk, they don't talk about what the Republicans are doing to get things right. You know what they keep saying? "Yo, Sleepy Joe did this. Anything that's wrong is from them. Yo, Kamala did this, y'all. Y'all bugging the fuck out. Joe Biden did this."
Here's why
it worked.
Here's why I don't think it's a fair comparison. One, it wasn't in a moment of crisis, right?
How?
You think we had the same economic crisis under Biden?
Well, no.
That's my point.
Wait. Let me finish.
Okay.
Let me answer you. I think that shit was fucked up.
I didn't ask the question. You asked me how. I was saying, what I'm saying is, it's easier when you're in a moment of relative stability to convince people that shit could be better. And part of what Trump comes in and says is, look at Sleepy Joe. You could be making so much more. We were so much better under me, even though there's no crisis, at least domestically.
Well, no, and I want to add to your point. The Republican Party has found their Aaron Judge. He could go out there and say whatever the fuck he want to say. They found their superstar person.
And that's the second thing, right?
Whatever the cockamamie message is, the majority is going to agree. The Democrats don't even have that person.
Right.
Nope.
So a lot of this, they lose on just sheer personality before we get to messaging.
And Trump has a cult-like base that doesn't care about issues. They're not fundamentally. They're not voting based on Trump's policy. They're voting based on Trump. Trump, like he said, I could go out on Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody.
I think the Democrats need their Dwayne Johnson, Stephen A, or whoever the fuck. Stephen A, I don't even like hearing this. Like, did all of this shit just said, "Oh, we on the wrong route. We ain't about to win in 2029 either." If we talking like this,
nah, they going. Again, I think everything that we saying, I don't think we on opposite sides of the spectrum.
No, it's just
I think what you saying is, yo, we don't have a representative, right? Cool. And I think that the old way of doing democratic shit has not worked. Yeah. So I think that there has to be a new way, and you following these old politically correct, "I'm gonna just be the good guy, turn the other cheek" trends. They have proven not to work.
Okay, but the Democratic Party is almost like the radio people finding out about the internet. They are the last people to find out that their way and how they've been gathering metrics and speaking to people is not in the wrong. The Republicans have been ahead of this.
Right, you mean.
Right. So the Republicans have just been ahead of this particular issue for a little while.
Sure.
And now the tongue twister. And now the Democrats are looking for but they started late. They started late.
I agree.
We all agree there needs to be a different response to this moment than they've done historically. I just think the first time I got locked up, my brother, the lawyer, came to get me out. And while I was sitting there, it was helpful too. I still had to stay the weekend, but he let me stay there for a long time, talking to him until he went to the club. And anyway, he said, pissed me off. But anyway, he said, I told you so. He started breaking down to me all the shit I did fucked up and why I shouldn't have been there. I didn't want to hear that shit right then. All I wanted him to do was tell me how I was going to get home. Once I got home, he could tell me all that shit. But right in this moment, I just want you to get me out of here. That's how people feel right now.
Example.
Telling people in this moment of crisis what they did wrong. Nobody wants to hear that shit. And they're not going to be able to hear it. They're going to get defensive and mad.
There's plenty of people that voted for Trump that are looking at the state of things and saying,
I made a mistake.
I may have been wrong on some of the reasons why I did it. It don't matter. We in the thick of things. We in the thick of things. Who cares? So what now? So what? Now we all got to get on the same page.
Yeah.
And this is without me knowing that they was protesting anywhere. So please.
So CNN just released an article about the tariffs. It basically says tariffs on China are set to rise to at least 104% on Wednesday, which is fucking mind-blowing. So he's set to impose an astounding 104% in levies across all Chinese imports on Wednesday. And this comes on top of Chinese tariffs that were in place prior to. They're going back and forth.
How do y'all feel about the tariffs plan? I'm sorry, Mel.
Yeah,
long term.
Every major,
long term is his administration.
4 years.
5. Let's call it 5.
I think it failed.
They're calling it an economic winter, and they're calling it a recession that rivals the Great Depression. Every major economist is sounding the alarm that this is the absolute worst thing that can happen. The world leaders from I don't know how many countries are saying this is you got to stop him.
They had 7 Wharton economists, right? UPenn, Wharton is they business school, and they said, yo, the shit that he's doing, none of them agree with it, and they all ousted it. I think that the message behind what he's doing is resonating with the people more, which is we lost the country, right? And we got to get it back. I'm not disagreeing with that theoretically. How you going about doing that is nuts, my nigga. Like, yo, fam, you can't just go in the house and say, yo, y'all live here? All right, I'm gonna remodel the whole house at one time.
Get out. With nowhere to live.
So y'all just got to sleep in that corner while we... No, I'm going to do the bathroom first, and then I'm going to do this room first. I think it's a slow process and a slow burn.
I want to preface anything I have to say in this conversation with, it's not necessarily reflective of my thoughts and views. I just want to try to have the conversation.
Be objective, yeah.
Why can't he do that?
Because you hurt so many people in the process that...
people are going to get hurt.
See, I think he look at people as collateral damage.
And I think he don't look at people, period. I think that
his destroy and rebuild thing, right? That's why I just have a hard time when y'all get to talking about the world leaders and their response, because whatever the fuck their plan was and what been going on,
I'm not even talking
ain't
about
been popping.
No, I'm not talking about
I do think that you need somebody with radical views to do something totally against the grain and get shit popping to see real change. I think that. Let me just land.
I'm not disagreeing.
And I think that part of why he feels so empowered to do so is because we are the biggest consumer. So if I'm the biggest consumer and I'm doing all of the spending, then yeah, when I walk in Louis Vuitton, I'm putting my dick on the table.
But there's
no. Wait, am I off?
No, you're not. But this is the thing, right? It's too. I'm sorry, Mel. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say the larger problem here is not necessarily what Trump is doing, even though it's fucking huge. It's the fact that Elon Musk is in office.
See, he's a problem.
He's got this agency that's shrouded in mystery. He has access to everything, carte blanche fucking authority to do whatever he wants. They're firing federal employees, gutting federal agencies. This guy's a fucking foreigner. He wasn't elected into office. Like, what the? This is insanity.
She's the cutest.
What?
I just thought the foreigner part was funny. He's coming from a foreigner, but
yeah.
Oh well, but I shouldn't be allowed to do shit either. You know what I'm saying?
And as a foreigner, you should say foreigner cooler.
Foreigner.
It should be a cooler way.
Foreigner.
Yo, listen, you're right. I think, again, I'm telling you, I think his mindset is right. When you are in government, your job is governance. So you can't take your constituents and say, fuck y'all, I could care less how y'all get along, I'm gonna do X, because now the people, to Ice's point, are collateral damage. Fam, in DC, I read a report that over the last 3 months, 8,000 houses went up for sale. DC is one of the highest cost of living in the country. Fam, so now you just gonna wipe out that whole, fuck the houses. We talking about the gas stations. We talking about the cleaners. We talking about the nightclubs. We talking about the Wawas.
Restaurants.
All of that
Trickle-down
shit
effect.
suffers. So if your whole thing that you ran on was economic progress, you are now saying, fuck y'all. I could care less about progress, and some of the shit is egotistical.
Let me ask you a question to that. Just, I'm not saying I agree with it either. What if my goal is economic progress, but the road is going to be bumpy for a while?
I think you roll it out slow.
Shit got to get real.
I think you roll it out slow. I think you roll it out slow for the humanity piece. I think you can't just say fuck all of these. In my opinion,
I agree.
You can't, because what's happening is
But I think y'all agreeing there. I think it contradicts his Trump point and his broad scope of what's going on. I think he don't give a fuck about the middle class and under.
Exactly. And what makes up 90-something% of the country?
Yeah, okay. I'm fine.
Middle class and under. So cool. So now you're gonna have this 10% that is cool. But now the rest of because again, we in government. This is not a corporation, even though the United States is a corporation. But you can't run it like that.
But for him, if he's focused on the ecosystem, then yeah, I need to incentivize the people that actually run the ecosystem.
And I wanted to address
I'm not necessarily agreeing with
we
that.
just having a conversation.
Got it.
Your Louis Vuitton point. Yo, if I spend mad money in Louis Vuitton, I could put my dick on the table.
Yes.
Cool. China can say, yo, I'm supplying 80% of your goods, 70% of your goods. You need me more than I need you.
That's a fact.
That's a super important point.
That's a very big point that we're
China is the
missing.
Joe Budden in this example, not the United States.
But that's a temporary point if I'm on some build and destroy.
It's not.
It's a temporary point.
How long is it going to take you to build?
Well, we don't know that part yet.
And in your building process, and in your building process,
okay, but if
your people are suffering.
We got that part, but he's already willing to make that. He don't care about that part. So if I'm just trying to change the shit, I have to start somewhere. So even if that says, when they was talking that build a wall shit last term, I was like, well, how the fuck long is that going to take? He ain't care. As long as the wall go up, it go up. Here, if it take 5 to 10 years, he started, and now his administration goes down as the one that's responsible for changing how the shit goes.
And I think you could do
and
it.
he's on some America the Great. We could do it here. We'll build the shit ourselves. We don't need these niggas. Yada yada yada. I'm not saying it's right or wrong.
No, I
do understand the thinking in what he's saying.
I'm not totally against what he's saying. I'm not totally against what he's saying. Me personally, I'm not totally against what he's saying because I think theoretically he has a good point. I think we've leveraged our consumerism and we made all of these countries around the world strong. If you look at India, if you look at China, if you look at some of these countries, their fucking whole GDP is predicated on us giving them money, whether it's outsourcing telemarketing jobs or outsourcing accounting, manufacturing, all that shit. Cool. When we want to get these jobs back, it's a slow process. You understand what I'm saying? You can, in my opinion, this is my opinion.
It is.
I think it's a slow process.
It's possible to get them jobs back.
It's not. That's the problem.
Because Americans are not doing it for what they were doing for over there.
That may be true. But what I'm saying is whether it was Trump or somebody else, the person that comes in looks at hundreds of trillions of debt and says, you know what? I'm going to attempt to get this together. And then pulls out the accountant and just starts, all right, this don't go here no more. That person's going to be looked at as the bad guy.
You know what this also doesn't address? What this also doesn't address, because what he's doing is he's saying that the U.S. no longer manufactures their own goods.
Which is true.
It's
not
true.
wrong.
But what he's also not addressing is the fact that we also don't have the skilled labor force that would be able to occupy those jobs, because guess what? He just shipped them all out of the fucking country.
He didn't do that.
No, that's part of his pitch. His pitch is I'm creating more jobs.
He didn't ship
But
the
with
jobs.
people who don't have the skills, China just literally made like an ad, and it was all of these, regular Americans sewing bras and sewing making all of these things that we use for our daily lives. It was basically China saying, you do not have the skilled labor force to occupy the jobs that you say you're bringing back to the country.
I think
finally, let's have a real talk about stereotypes. I'll tell you all the Americans that I don't want working for me.
I think that's insulting.
No, that's the insinuation
we could have the labor force to do anything around the country. The problem is the people that are over here are going to make $22 an hour or $17 an hour. So now where's that?
Because we coddle these 10-year-olds and say they can't make sneakers.
Where's that gonna? You're a fool, son.
It's true though. It's true. No. He's absolutely right. You're fucking coddling these 10-year-olds. Put their little asses
Work
to
the
work.
little fingers.
Hey, Jordan's got to come from somewhere.
You guys are ridiculous.
That is horrible.
Dog, what's the price of them Jordans gonna be? What's the price of them Levi's gonna be? What's the price of the iPhone?
I was just joking around.
No, I know. What's the price of the cars? And so that's the shit that we're gonna be bitching about. So even if his plan works, what's gonna happen when? Because the greedy ass company owners are not gonna take less of a profit margin.
No, dog. Right now, today. The new Nintendo Switch was supposed to go up for pre-order.
Yo, that's his shit.
That nigga mad.
What the fuck?
Fuck all his healthcare. Fuck all his housing.
Here's a
Let me fucking land. There is a point here to what you just said.
I know.
It was supposed to go up for pre-order. Nintendo canceled it for America. You cannot order it because they said, yo, we don't know how much it's going to cost. Due to tariffs, it's not made here. So sorry, y'all, we not releasing yet. This is that's just one little piece. Like it's gonna start happening with everything else. I heard Corey was saying earlier. Mercedes said, "Yo, there's no more cars this year."
I just got an email that said all your little parts they're going up.
Oh, that's happening to me.
They come from overseas, and the companies are not gonna take the loss. If he gonna charge us X on the tariffs, we gonna charge our X in the new price.
So we copping Genesises now, nigga. That's American.
No,
Japanese.
What's American? What's the American?
Nothing.
A Ford.
Couldn't tell you.
A Ford,
Buick,
a Buick.
Oh, I like Buicks.
You wouldn't drive one
I would
Cadillac.
drive one. I drive Buick. You're crazy.
to the store
Yo, you think I'm some party? I'm not.
today.
And you manipulate the airwaves to paint the picture of that nasty person. I would drive a Buick. And if you hung out with me today, you would know I would drive a Buick.
Buick, Cadillac.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Ford.
Yeah.
And I manipulate the airways.
All he does. That's all he does.
That's what he said.
That's all he does. All he does is manipulate the airwaves.
That's what I do. This guy has a nutcase, yo.
And you can manipulate it if you build it. Shut up, nigga.
This is the one thing I would.
True. Yeah, I guess. Can't argue with that. Yeah.
Shut up, man.
This is the one thing I'll add to the conversation. I just think empires fall. Every empire in human history has fallen.
We're Rome.
Yeah, we're Rome.
We're Rome right now.
And from 1945 until now, or maybe about 5 years ago, the United States has been the superpower. There was a moment we were the shared superpower toward the end of this empire, but we are in decline. Trump's plans are based on this idea. It's like a rapper that thinks they can make the comeback. You know what I'm saying? Or an athlete that thinks they can make the comeback.
That's a good one.
We can't make this comeback. The nations, the basic nations, Brazil, South Africa, India, China, they're on the rise. We don't have the military power to defeat these nations. We don't have the economic power, and we don't have the diplomatic power because we lost the other two. You can only negotiate when you. So the idea of going to Louis Vuitton with your dick on the table is a great example. It's just China is the person with the moderately sized penis.
I don't see you
putting it on the table.
I don't see you or anyone else convincing America of those things. I don't think America believes that at all.
They don't.
Whether they believe it or not, but they believe in it based on some egotistical ideal of what the country.
Well, that's
is
part
today.
of the
Hey,
propaganda.
the washed up rapper don't think that he washed up.
But you know
the
what?
washed up ball player don't think he washed up.
But you know when they find out? You know when they find out? When they get injured?
when
somebody drop 40 on them or when their record don't sell?
Yeah, but in the same example, I like that example. The washed up rapper does have a shot.
Maybe.
He does have a shot.
But then you say...
Sorry.
It's not a good example, but
Well, because they're not really washed up then.
We're playing probabilities. No.
Yeah.
No, we're talking about a washed up rapper, and the chances would be, even put it at 3%. It's a shot.
Right, but the problem is, the difference with washed up rapper is, if the other 97 plays out, nobody loses anything.
nobody. You playing a 3% probability with the lives of millions and millions and millions of people.
There's a 97% chance this is going to end up disastrous.
Come on, fam.
And again, I don't know
Hundreds of millions.
I don't know enough about economics to speak to it intelligently, so I don't try not to talk about things I don't know about. But what I will say is, every economist that I've spoken to, and I did an interview on Al Jazeera last week with Richard Wolff, who's one of the leading economists in the world, and he brilliantly laid out, just like these Wharton economists, that this can't work. Yeah. So for me, I think we all saying the same thing. We needed a radical alternative. We need a departure from the status quo. This is just a bad one. It's just a bad one. That's all.
I think, or it's just done too abruptly.
I also, not to sound Trumpy again, I also don't want to hear niggas come tell me my idea is bad if ain't nobody else got an idea.
That's not true.
I've heard that before.
I think what happens with him is when a nigga come with an idea that don't coincide with my idea, you got fired.
Yes.
Or, yo, Mr. Trump, I don't think we should be doing it this way. You fired. Fam, he sat and told the Republican niggas in Congress, if y'all don't like Elon Musk, you could get out of here. People got kids to raise and college tuitions to pay and mortgages in high-ass D.C.
I don't fuck with Elon Musk, boy.
So
if I
I'ma
own
just-
one of them cyber trucks, I would write Toyota on the back like them niggas doing. I would write fucking Buick or some shit.
Dog.
Right on the back.
So that's the point. Like, yo, fam, I'm gonna get along because I got bills to pay. I don't think the Republicans fuck with him.
Here's a stupid question. 5 seconds or less. Where do y'all think humans come from?
Monkeys.
Atoms.
I have no idea.
Humans were created. I always say that.
By another species.
We got atoms. We got monkeys. We got a different something.
Something created us.
Hybrid.
Like the sea monkey shit they used to have back for the kids and shit. We were an experiment and then left.
Ish flip.
Listen, I don't.
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I don't know.
We've been talking all this political shit. Stephen A. Smith announced yesterday on his Twitter that he is now open to running for president. That previously he said it was off the table, but now he, after looking at the country and the state that it's in, and after looking at the lack of candidates, the lack of a bench that Joe talked about, that he is considering a run for president and that he'll let us know in 2026, 2027 to be sure.
In 2027, I'm gonna let you know how the public looks at all that Max Kellerman shit in hindsight.
Trumpish.
That's all I have on the matter.
Trumpish.
I don't have nothing else on the matter. I'm not saying nothing else on the matter. Stephen A. is a friend of the show.
Same.
I fuck with him. I see what he's doing. If you had 2% of whatever, maybe you do the same. Some of his actions over recent years will be called into question if he ends up on. That's all I'm saying.
My advice to him, and I love Stephen A., he's my friend, is you just signed a $100 million deal.
Keep that.
For 5 years. That's $20 million a year. Do not jeopardize the brand. Because once you run for president, half the ESPN audience don't fuck with you. One side or the other. I don't care what you run. Half of them don't fuck with you. And I don't know if you can ever recover that. So unless you're sure you're going to win, and I'm sure he is not.
That's not safe to say.
What?
That you lose half of the ESPN audience.
You will.
You don't know that.
Okay, well, how about
You
that?
don't know that ESPN as a whole is not really covertly a right-wing channel altogether.
It could be.
Oh, you said it could be more.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm saying it could be worse.
Yeah, no,
Remember, he's running as a Democrat. That's the thing. He's going to run as a Democrat. So he's running against MAGA. He's running against J.D. Vance. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying all them NASCAR watching motherfuckers ain't going, they suddenly not going to think that Stephen A. is all right with me. They're going to start saying we don't fuck with him.
Depending on what he says.
And ain't no way to run for president and not say something against him if you run in to win.
I don't know that to be true either, Mark. I don't know that that's true.
I think this. Yeah,
We just said
he's
that
gonna
the
take a
Democrats
hit.
have had a problem with messaging.
Oh, you said if you run and just don't say shit.
Or say something that appeals to all. Or he could get up there on his OJ shit, I don't see color. You don't know what he might say as a black man running.
That's fair. I mean, I would say based on his recent press run, where he's been giving political opinions, but they still think it's cute because he's still mainly talking about basketball. And he could pivot because people pivot when they run for office. That's fair. But if he don't pivot and he stays the track he's on, I don't think it's worth it. I was asked to run for Green Party vice president in 16, and the reason I didn't
Slow
run.
down for a minute.
What?
Just slow down.
My VP looked like me.
He be saying shit so smooth. You got asked to run for Green Point's
Green Party.
nigga.
Green.
Yeah.
Green Dot, nigga. That's Green Point. That's Brooklyn, nigga.
I thought that's what he was talking about.
Green
You
Party.
could be my Brooklyn
Green
president,
Party,
nigga.
yo.
The Green Party. Jill Stein was at the top of the ticket, and she asked me to be her running mate in 2016. And she called me in July of 2016 and said, "Do you want to run?" And I had the same consideration. I mean, obviously, I wasn't gonna win, but I had the same considerations. Like, assuming I don't win, what's at stake?
Are you single in 2016?
What hour is this in the show?
Three.
Oh yeah, I was single enough. Yeah, I was outside.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
But here's what I thought. I thought a couple things. One, if Donald Trump loses, That's not true. My first thought was financial. When you run for president, you have to leave all your journalism jobs. You cannot have a journalism job and run for political office. So they let you out of your contract to do it. Now, if they fuck with you, because this happens on CNN all the time, all those political commentators that run for Senate, CNN lets them out of their contract, or MSNBC or whoever. They let you out of the contract, and then once your run is over, they just give you a new deal. But if they don't like you, they use that as the out clause and don't give you the new deal. They don't have to give you a new deal, because that's in all the clauses. Stephen A. would be banking that after his run is over, that ESPN will welcome him back with another deal. And they might. And I'm speculating on his deal. He could have a very unique deal, but this is 99% of deals. But if you say the wrong thing on that trail, or something gets exposed, or this, all these stories come up from the past, I'm not talking about personal stuff, I'm talking about professional stuff, you might be in a worse negotiating position.
Dice.
Yeah, you could be worth $200 million.
I'm on the other side of that.
Or you could be worth...
I think this is the beginning of Stephen A. kissing ESPN goodbye as a whole altogether. I think that he may have learned some things during this negotiation process that left him a little peeved. I don't really know that 20 million number is a number that he was happy with. And if you do this presidential shit, win, lose, or draw, what comes from that, the numbers that these niggas get on the book tip, on the speaking tip, I don't think he's looking at 20 million a year ever again. Peace.
That might be true.
I think this will be the proper propelling of his independent career.
If it goes well.
And now I have a podcast. I don't want to tell you about the money that the Obamas have gotten in podcast world without releasing a thing.
That's
And
true.
you did say
they also won.
But, and look,
that's a two-part thing.
You did say also, if you're a journalist, they let you out your contracts, right?
Yeah. They force you out of your contract.
You can have an out.
Who says it's not consistent? Ish.
The Obamas got multiple podcast bags.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. They got huge podcasts.
I know they got the one big one.
No, they got multiple big ones, not just one.
Okay.
Yeah. They got they getting crazy.
Yeah, they got some different shit.
But again, shit worked out
When
well.
is there going to be a time when Michelle or Barack can't walk in the office and say, I'm demanding 8 figures to talk?
Yeah, X.
There's not going to be a time where that don't happen.
Fam, you could go do a commencement speech for a university and get 7 figures.
Yeah, but that's because they won. We wouldn't say that about Howard Dean. We wouldn't say that about John Edwards.
You're right.
I mean, there's a lot of people who there was a moment where they were the shit.
John Edwards is rich though. But
yeah, but he can't get a speech
That's true.
at Kings, in front of Kings, right? Like, there's a way that you just can't. I wouldn't risk it if I were him. And then the other thing is, how does your core audience feel about you? The reason I didn't go on the VP ticket was, if Trump wins, and I thought Hillary Clinton was going to win.
I did too.
But I said, if Trump wins, and we're the spoiler, black people are going to hate me.
Oh yeah.
So I'm just saying, if JD Vance wins, or if the wrong person wins, and he's part of a ticket that took away votes, people are going to resent the shit out of people. People hate tweet me every day for just voting green. Right? They send Jill Stein death threats for being the candidate. I'm just saying, Stephen A. has managed to make a wonderful brand. There's no one like him. He's the best at what he does ever. I don't know. It just seems like too much of a risk with too little of a reward.